Good evening, and welcome to Ridgecrest Talk, the Thursday evening edition. I'm Robert Ironman, along with our partner Al Huey, and tonight we're privileged again to have Councilman Jim Sanders with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And sorry that we're doing with the hand mics. Our lapel mics seem to have taken a dump, so we're going to have to improvise a little bit here tonight. But one of the reasons anyway that I invited you to come in, Councilman Sanders, was I remember being in the audience at the last council meeting where the land use management plan letter was being discussed, and before the meeting, Al and I talked, and we says, well, I says, I just have a gut feeling. I have a feeling that Lori Acton will say no. And Al says, well, there's a possibility that Eddie Thomas will say no. And so we thought, well, maybe we can get a 3-2 vote. We still lose, but good showing. And then you start speaking about the plan, and I swear to goodness, you could have pushed both Al and I over with a feather.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other and said, is there a possibility?
Who is that guy?
Right. And so anyway, the point of that being that we were certainly very surprised, obviously from my personal position and Al's position, I know. We were pleased. You and I have had many debates on this topic. And I had pretty much given up on quote, convincing you to come to the right side. No, I'm teasing.
Well, now that I'm on that side, I'll agree with you. It is the right side.
So I would certainly like to know, and Al would, and I know our viewing audience would, that was a pretty dramatic change in your position, obviously a result of much thought on your part, but if you could explain what changed your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did a little bit of, I don't think my mind was ever made up one way or another up until that point.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, but you were definitely leaning towards supporting the
I was, yeah, and I felt it, my duty to be open and expressing my points of view throughout the whole process of me changing my mind. My mind basically changed in part because of a few things the lawyer said, believe it or not, but a lot of it was just listening to the public witnesses, hearing people talk, and just hearing different ideas come up. And I realized that if we do find a solution where we have an abundance of water in this valley in the future, long term in the future, then we're really hurting ourselves now by cutting down on possible agriculture that we could be developing in the future. Because if you start making that land commercial, residential, and they start subdividing those, it's very, very difficult to go back to agriculture once you've done that. So I saw a possibility where we could kind of be shooting ourselves in the foot in the future. And I do believe that there is a solution that we can come up with collectively as a community that will provide water for this valley.
Did you ever give any thought to the fact that what Robert and I believe, at least in good part, is the county is kind of putting the cart before the horse by not allowing the GSAs to come online.
Yeah.
And with those individuals that are really have skin in the game,
yeah,
to come up with a solution. And the other thing is the Todd report was the crux of the impetus for the county doing what it was doing as far as rezoning all the properties to try to address the water issue. But, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, that is in stark contrast to all the, well, I won't say all, but to many other EIRs and Navy reports and engineers, hydrologists, Dr. Austin and being one.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from.
And the BRAC, 2005 BRAC.
Well, I do disagree with that statement in part, because a lot of those, like the statements made in the BRAC were conditional. There were a lot of conditions. If we do this, this, and this,
Well,
then we'll have water for
They
this
didn't
amount
say
of
that,
time.
though.
Well,
Not to the BRAC Commission. They said...
I don't know exactly what all the BRAC Commission was given in terms of reports or
Okay, well,
I mean,
essentially they said that we had enough water for 160 years
yeah.
to handle a population of, post-BRAC population of 90,000.
Yeah.
And that's what the commission received from the valley.
And look, those people made statements with the information that they had at that time. I fully believe that they were being honest in those testimonies. But situations change over time, information changes over time. We have more information today than we had then. Does that affect the estimates? I'm sure it does. I'm not a hydrologist. I can't tell you
neither are we.
exactly, you know, how that changes. But what I firmly believe that we have the water table is dropping. From the data that I've seen from unmonitored wells that are far away from other pumping wells, you know, you see a consistent draw over a period of like 40 years. And
yeah, in fact, I would contend that it's more like 60 to 70 years.
Yeah.
That the water table has been going down. I don't know for sure what that means. In that, does that mean we're running out of water? Does that mean that we have a glass that used to be full and now it's 3/4 full? I'm just not smart enough to know what the answer is. The thing that always concerned me relative to the approach that the county was taking, we're going to run out of time here in this segment, but so I'll kind of start this and then we'll have to come back to it. But I don't think they're solving a water problem. They're, in my mind, creating a water problem and creating sides.
With that thought,
yes,
we're going to take our first break, and we'll come right back. Join us. And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. Again, we're here with Councilman Jim Sanders talking about water. And I think we will be talking about water until this decision is handed down on May 20 or
May
19th.
19th,
May
18th, 19th, somewhere in there.
And don't forget, one more important opportunity for you to have the county hear your voice will be May 13th at 1 p.m.
Correct.
When the Board of County Supervisors will address this issue in City Council chambers. So try to be there if you can at all possibly. Arrange your schedule, get off work, late lunch, whatever, and try to be there. 1 o'clock, May 13th. So we were talking about water and the different aspects that came upon you and kind of moved you towards holding off on supporting what the county's doing. You're not saying not do it, but you're saying right now, let's let the GSAs maybe come on board.
I think there's a good possibility that there's much better solutions out there.
Right.
And solutions that can benefit the farmers and the residents and the base and the whole valley. But Robert, before we took the break, you brought up a really good point that there's one thing that I was seeing in a lot of these public comments was a real division among the community in the valley, all the residents, between the farmers and everybody. And so, you know, people, like Ed said in the meeting, people were leaving, you know, enemies where they once were friends. And I just thought, we cannot have a good solution bring about something like that. It's not a good solution if it's tearing people apart,
Right.
and causing divisions and rifts in the valley. So, so that was another huge factor in me changing my opinion as well. So,
Yeah, I really felt or feel that this is kind of like, let me exaggerate for emphasis, this is kind of like King George imposing some rules on citizens of the colonies, as opposed to the colonies, or in our case, the members of this valley, all getting together and coming up with a solution where all the people have a voice. They're all talking with their neighbors and their friends, and we all realize that something needs to be done, and now let's do something that is unifying to the community instead of divisive for the community.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the biggest reasons that I had against it, that and an aspect that we haven't yet talked about here this evening, and that's that I felt very strongly that if you change somebody's zoning and they didn't want that, and they had plans in the future of doing something, then you were taking away that use, therefore taking away their property. I understand you may not agree with that.
Yeah, I still don't agree with that.
But that's one of the strongest.
What they would define as a regulatory taking, not the physical taking of the property.
Yeah, I understand that.
But
yeah.
Somebody like yourself, relatively young and moved to this community, somebody like you say, I want to buy 10 acres or 20 acres out there in Ukraine, and that's where
kind
I
of a
want to
retirement
retire
dream,
and build my retirement home and do a little farming and have some horses or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the county comes in after you've bought it and been paying the taxes, and essentially they've taken that dream away from you.
Yeah, no, I understand your point of view, and that's not a nice thing to do to anybody.
No.
I mean, it's definitely creates for a lot of hostile feelings.
And
but
I have looked, Robert.
But do they have the authority to do that? I believe they do. That's
well.
We could debate.
I think the court would. We'll have to decide that. We believe the court will favor the property owners, but.
And I think that it was very interesting. You were there, of course, when it took our city attorney Keith Lemieux about 5 questions and 2 minutes, and had the county on their knees relative to. Remember, Lorelei Oviatt, all she could say is, "Well, it doesn't follow CEQA," but the court's not going to pay much attention to that. So, and you maybe weren't able to observe it from the position you were in, but from the audience, it was very easy to see. Let me just call it a Cheshire cat grin on Keith Lemieux's face, and
I do remember that conversation, but I did not see the.
He's a very winning attorney, and he takes great pride in his legal prowess, as well he should. And I think that's what it was. I mean, he was just smiling about the fact that, boy, sliced and diced them real easily. and I even mentioned it at what do they call it? The water.
Oh, the ad hoc conservation
yes,
committee, yeah.
That he was giving a demonstration of how easy it was going to be for an attorney to address the situation, and the county didn't look like it was going to come out on the good end of that stick.
Well, he had a really great point too, because what he was saying was that any new developer that comes in there has equal rights to the water as if they had been there for 100 years or whatever it was.
Right.
And that's backed up in the state constitution.
Yeah, and I firmly agree with that. And that got me thinking, if we do find a solution for water, then who's to say that a new ag developer can't come in here and farm if they're willing to pay for whatever solution we're all paying for.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and if we all pay
the
for it
governor,
together, I mean,
that's one of the things he's taken a hit on with this water issue in the state, is he hasn't addressed the farmers. And the reason...
well, I
he
think you
doesn't want
can't. Yeah, because they have a right to the water,
Right.
don't they? Yeah.
I didn't hear that. Are we close to going to break? Oh, okay, we got some time.
Yeah.
But exactly, that
Well, and
the governor feels
and
that,
here's-
if he walks into that,
and here's
the
another.
state's going to lose big time.
Yeah, and here's another perspective to that too. Is if we all decrease our water usage, it might hurt our plants. It might hurt our way of life a little bit. If you
Which we're
decrease the
starting to
water,
experience right now.
yeah, we are, and yeah, a lot of people are seeing the brown in their yards.
Yeah.
But if you decrease the water for ag, it's
We
their
gotta-
livelihood.
We got to stop it right there.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. This is our final break for this segment. Come back and see us.
Welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. We're here with Councilman Jim Sanders, who's kind enough to come in and talk to us again about water. And before we went to break, we were talking about what?
Oh, I've slept since.
Me too. But, excuse me, one thing I'd be interested to know, you said earlier that one of the things that gave you pause for concern was when the excuse me, the attorney gave a presentation at the
Yeah.
ad hoc committee.
Yep.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah,
What-
absolutely.
What you heard that caused
Yeah.
you to...
Well, he talked a lot about the authority and the powers that this new GSA have, which quite honestly they're given a lot of power. But one of the things that caught my attention was the possibility of raising as an assessment a pump tax on everybody in the basin that pumps. And I say as an assessment because assessments are raised to cover the costs of a given service.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we do find a method of importing water, it's going to cost a lot of money.
A lot.
A lot of money. But if the GSA pays for it as an assessment with a pump tax, then every single one of us in the valley pay for it equally, proportional to how much we use in water. And I thought, well, what an equitable and fair way of having everybody share the burden. And if we do something like that, where everybody can share the burden equally and fairly, then we don't really need to take this measure right now of reducing agriculture, because in a way it'll kind of regulate itself, because agriculture will become more expensive. I don't think that's an ugly truth, but it'll kind of regulate itself, and so people who will do it for profit will be less inclined to expand, which will be kind of the same outcome without actually rezoning people's property.
Right.
So
I agree with you, and there are thoughts on how to import water, how to get additional water,
Yeah.
what can be done, because clearly, if we are running out of water, then for the long term we have no choice other than to import.
Right.
When you don't have any water left, it doesn't do you any good to conserve water.
Right.
So there's going to have to be water imported somehow,
Yeah.
manufactured, whether we get ability to take it from the aqueduct and pay money, and LADWP builds a desalinization plant with that money and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at some point, there's something like that's going to happen, and it's going to be expensive. And you're right. All of us in the valley can share that
Yeah.
on some basis. I mean, we would have disagreements about what's fair and what's equitable, but I'm sure that can be worked out.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you.
I think there could be some real innovative solutions. I was just reading this morning about the desalinization plant they built in Israel, and how they had a real breakthrough in the membrane technology that allowed the cost of desalinating water to drop significantly.
Wow.
You know, so I think as we innovate in this country, we're going to find better, cheaper, more efficient ways of you know, cleaning up water or reusing water or desalinating water. So
I have a wonderful suggestion.
yeah, what?
Let's convince the governor to dump the high-speed rail and take that $80 billion.
Take all that money and put
And-
it into research and projects to, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just build 80 desalinization plants. So they're going to open one down near San Diego later this year, first part of next year. It cost $1 billion.
Yeah.
But get rid of that high-speed rail, that'd build 80 of those plants.
That's a wonderful idea. Far more useful to the residents of
What's
California.
it been, 30 or 40 years since the state has built any reservoirs?
Yes.
Wow, jeez.
Yeah.
So they kind of brought us to this point, really. So
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
so,
Government caused the problem.
Any chance of talking you into being a prophet here for a moment? What you think how the supervisors might go?
that's walking a
Anything that
dangerous
you-
line. I don't think so. Yeah, I have no idea, really. I know two of the supervisors. I really don't know the thoughts and the personalities of the other three, so I couldn't say it all.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that those supervisors will need to think to themselves, do they want their constituents to see them vote yes on this, and do they want their constituents to be saddled with something like this? Because this is trend setting. So I think that they're going to have a very difficult choice to make.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is it's been said by our supervisor Mick Gleason that he would like to take this type of approach and take it over to the other side of the mountain.
Yes.
Mm.
And there's certainly a difference in how much ag over there compared to
A
here.
lot of ag over there, yeah.
Yeah.
He might see a bit of opposition over there, stronger than what he is seeing here.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make my prediction.
Okay.
I always do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I'm almost going to say it's a 4-1, but I'm going to go with a 3-2 no vote. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'll be anxiously seeing it. So.
It could be a 4-1 no vote,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm going to predict 3-2.
But you need to be there. May 13th, 1 p.m.
Right. And then join us on May 14th. For
right.
our show, we will have Lorelei Oviatt, the Kern County Planning Department head here, and we'll be talking about what happened at that meeting, and because they won't be making their decision till the 18th or the 19th, I forget.
I think, but
So yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's changing almost every day.
yes.
Well, and to the county's credit, I think that's actually a good thing because they're including a lot of the public comment and the things that the personal property owners want changed. So
But I
that
mean,
that is
it-
confusing for people watching it and trying
Yes.
to determine what it is now.
And that's
It's
another
a
reason.
target,
I
but
mean,
it's-
doesn't it seem reasonable that with all these changes, they should kind of stop and regroup and say, let's go at this again, let's present the plan again, but that's not going to happen.
No.
It just needs to get, in my opinion, voted down. Wow, we're out of time again. Thank you, Jim, very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a
And we'll
pleasure.
be back next week, and we'll probably be talking about water.
Water.